So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the WeAreDevelopers World Congress 2022. Big thanks to our partners, first of all, for making this possible. If you haven't already, please make sure to download the Congress app because we're going to, among other things, we're going to have the Q&A session from there. You can submit your questions for every speaker, and we're going to read them out loud in the end. Sign up for some of the workshops that we have. There's still some seats available, and you can also book them through the app. There's water and filter coffee all around the place if you ever need anything like that. And to begin, we're going to play the Code of Conduct video. Yeah. Well, that is it. We know how to behave with each other, hopefully. And without further ado, we're going to give it up for our first speaker, who is going to teach us all about how to use Git for code reviews. Give it up for Johannes Hawks.
So much. Hey, guys. Well, thank you so much for the kind introduction. Thank you all for being here. I'm actually amazed by the turnout. I didn't expect that. Though I have to say, I did a quick, now let's go back to the start. I did a quick survey before the conference, and actually like 75% of you said they love code reviews, so I think we can see that this is true by you all being here. Also, 30% of you said like you spend about a day each week on actually doing code reviews, and I did the same. I was a self-taught programmer when I started out at university. I used Git like, throw something at it, add everything, commit, and you're done. I did all those fix bug commit messages, this kind of stuff. And then I started working on Mergeboard, which is a code review tool with my two very experienced co-founders that are actually great software developers. And suddenly, I wasn't working alone anymore, right? I was in a team, and we had to have some kind of structure. We had to, be sure that we don't mess up the main branch, that kind of stuff. So, reviews with my code usually took quite long because I didn't use Git very well. I made huge pull requests, merge requests, that kind of stuff. And at some point, my co-founder said, Johannes, we need to sit down. We need to make you a Git flow user. As a quick recap, what is Git flow? Git flow is this concept where you have two long-lasting branches. One is the stable branch, that's, so to say, the outward-facing stuff of your code that's going to be committed there. You have releases on this branch that you can also ship to customers, to users. Then you have the develop branch, and that's where you create those new features in their own short-lived feature branches. And then you also have those release branches and also hotfix branches if you have to quickly fix something on the stable branch. So that's Git flow. Why would you want that? Well, this gives you structure, right? This is a way how you can have a whole team working on the same code using Git without messing up, for example, your Git history. Code becomes more maintainable, and it's easier to basically work together. And you're probably used to this if you have contributed to open source. You have opened pull requests for new features. And what we're going to talk about today is how to craft those feature branches and how to maintain those. Because something that I also had to learn very early on in my software developer career is that it really helps to have a clean Git history. It makes it easier for your reviewer to step through what you did if you have commits that do one thing only. And of course, we're also going to talk about how to keep this history clean during a code review. So those are the two topics: how to craft a merge request, and then how to incorporate feedback and maintain it so that you have a clean Git history. This is going to be a hands-on talk, so let's switch over to this terminal here. On the right-hand side, I hope you can see that we have the project structure up there. Below it is the output of Git status, and below that we have the output of Git log. I'm going to talk you through it, but if you ever lose track of what I'm talking about, I hope you can find back on that side. On the left-hand side, we have the terminal, and this is a tic-tac-toe project. It's not really that important what this project is about. The important thing is, on the main branch, the backend has been implemented, and I now have been working on making this game playable. I already crafted a commit that sets up all the front-end logic, and now I'm crafting a commit that will connect front-end to back-end. And after that, I want to add some documentation in a separate commit. So I have 3 commits that are very specific in what they do to make review easy. But the problem I have is, if I take a look at the setup.config, nope. All right, the setup.config, you can see that there are 2 parts in this file. The top part being concerned with the documentation, and the lower part being concerned with connecting front end to back end. Now, how would I go about this, right? I love to first implement everything and then craft the commits. It's easier for me to iterate in that early stage of my feature. But now I have the problem that how do I split this file? And the cool thing is Git actually helps us doing that. You can stage only parts of a file with the -p command. So if I do this, you see an interactive interface, and I now have a lot of options. We're going to focus on the first 2. Yes or no, do I want to stage this part of the file? We are crafting the front end connects to back end part, so no, we don't want to add the documentation part. Press N and enter. And now on the second part, the second chunk of the file, I say, yes, I want to stage this. And if you now look at the output of Git status, you can see that the setup.config is indeed partly staged and partly not. Now I also add the backend part, main.py, and now I'm ready to craft my commit. I do this by, first of all, start with a self-review. Very important thing if you want your reviewer to like you. Always, first of all, do a git diff ---- stage before you commit, so you know what you're about to commit. And we can see, indeed, only the part of the setup.config we wanted to commit is there, and of course, the entirety of main.py. So I'm happy with that, and I can commit. Now, writing a good, concise commit message is also very important. I didn't do this here, so add some more context in that, but we don't have the time to go into that too much. Just to point this out, write good commit messages. Now, the last thing to do is to commit the documentation. So to stage that, I'm doing a git add -u, which stages all the updated and tracked files. So if I have untracked files there, those will not be staged, which would be the case if I do a -a, for example. So this, but yeah, let's stage those, and also do usually a self-review. We can see entirety of README is there, and the part of setup.config, that we want to be staged at that point is also there. So we're good to go. Let's commit. And perfect. Now all that's left to do is to push. And we have internet, that's great. Perfect. And now if we take a look at the log, we can see that we have indeed, branching off from the backend part on the main branch, we have 3 commits that do one thing and one thing only, which makes it easy now for a reviewer to actually review this code. Now, let's write that out and go back to our presentation to do a quick recap. So we learned how to stage only parts of the file with the -p command. There are actually, most IDEs support this kind of operation. So if you use PyCharm or VS Code, I think that's built in there. But it's nice to know that Git actually does that also on the command line. And of course, git diff -staged, very important command for you to be able to make a reviewer like you. Now, looks like our reviewer has been up to his task. We have some review coming in. And great, so it looks like I put in a typo there. I have some print statement that I need to remove. And yeah, the main branch has changed, so I need to incorporate those changes in the URI branch as well. Let's see how we do that without messing up our beautiful history that we just crafted. All right, so first things first, let's fix that typo. I actually know where that is. That's the movies part here. That should be moves. So I save and quit. Now this change is there. And now what I do? Should I just craft a new commit, or is there a different way to go about this? And Git actually allows us to update the latest commit in our Git history. First of all, we have to stage this file. Then, quick tip. I learned about this like last year, and it's like great. If you use WeAreDev, let's do like that. If you use the WeAreDev command, you get a div like this, which only shows you how a single word has changed. So great command, just as a hint. And then, of course, we do a git commit -- amend. So we're going to amend the changes we have staged right now to the commit we're currently at in our Git history where head is pointed. If we do this, Git asks us if we want to update our commit message. In this case, we don't, so I save and quit, and we're done. The staging area is empty again, and now our history still looks the same. But is it? Now, let's look. First, write that out. If we now go back, here let's talk about what git commit amend does. Here we have the before, what our Git history looked like before we amended, and afterwards it looks like this. Basically the same, right? But if we look at the commit hash here in this, for our commit that we amended, we can see that it actually has a new hash. It's a new commit. So basically Git used our original commit, updated it, and created an entirely new one. Why is that important? Well, the other one is still accessible. It's going to get garbage collected. But if you have passwords in there, for example, they are still in your Git history. So be careful with that. All right, more feedback to incorporate. Now, what did we want to fix next? We want to make sure that the feedback or the changes from main are also incorporated in our UI branch. And there are now several ways we could do this. We could do a merge, basically adding a merge commit to our feature branch, which is OK. You can do that. But if you do this quite often, it really messes up your Git history. I see people nodding there. Yeah, this can get really ugly really soon. So what we usually do when working on mergeboard is we do rebases. What is that? That allows us to move the branch to a later point on the branch we're branching from. And the command for that is actually called rebase. It helps us to find a new base, and we have to specify that base. So I'm on the UI branch, and I put this branch on a new base, and that is the end of the main branch. That's what happens when I do this. And indeed, if we now look at our git log, you can see that this commit has now been added. Now, let's again take a look at what is happening. During a rebase, what is happening is our history again gets updated. We have again this before and after, and what we can see now is that all the hashes actually have been changed from our commits in the UI branch, and that is because what happens is Git moves head down and then starts applying the changes in those commits as new commits starting from the main branch. So you get 3 entirely new commits through this operation that look like they've been there all along. Again, the old ones still are accessible through revlog, for example, so it's not deleting those commits. This feature, this stepping through the history, is what we're now going to use to fix our last error, which was this print statement. The print statement has been added in the first commit of my branch. So I cannot use amend to fix this from here, but I can use the rebase feature because we are stepping through history, right? So what I'm doing is I'm starting an interactive rebase using the -i here, and I also tell it to start at the end of the main branch. And what this does now is this opens your editor of choice, and you can now say what you want to do with each of those commits. You can also reorder them, but what we're doing is we want to edit the first commit in the UI branch, and if I now save and quit, Git will start stepping through the history and stop right after this first commit. So if we do this, you can see at the output, or let's do it here, the output of git log head is now on the first commit of our UI branch, and we use this to now fix this this print statement. Let's find it. It's here. Yeah. No, this one here. An obvious. Nope. Debug print. Never do that. Never do prints for debugging. And now all that's left to do is to actually stage this at -u, and then we can do a commit amend, because we are in our history at the point we want to update this commit. So amending will ask us again, do we want to change this? No, we're staying here. And now we can actually continue our rebase. Our history, again, looks like before, what we wanted to, but the commit we wanted to fix is now fixed. Now, you might say, hey, that's kind of tedious, right? Every time I remember fixing some mistake, I have to edit this commit. Is there maybe an easier way? And there actually is. So let's say if we just add a comment here, and we want to commit this change again to this commit we just updated, we can also craft a fix-up commit. Nope, fix-up, yep. And then we can specify which commit we want to fix using the commit hash. And if I now hit enter, what happens is, oh, sorry, I'm being told that I have to actually stage my changes. All right. I now created a new commit. And you might say, wait, that's entirely not what I want, right? I want to fix a commit. But the beautiful thing is I can gather now those fix-up commits. And then at some point, I can say, let's do a rebase again, if I can type it out, and then add the auto squash option. And what this does is it tells Git to automatically update this document here and move those fix-up commits to their respective position and add the fix-up flag. So this is now being squashed. This commit is now being squashed into the commit it's supposed to fix. So if I save and quit now, and you look at the git log output, you can see that the fix-up commit is gone. And if you would look now into the commit we fixed, this is now updated. There are tools like mergeboard that support using fix-up commits during this entire process that merge them automatically when you hit the merge button. Why would that be important? Well, if I now do a git push to tell my reviewer, hey, I've done all the changes, what will happen is we get this rejected message because those histories on the remote and on the local Git repo, they are now mismatched. Git cannot work them together. So what we have to do is we have to override the remote history with a git push -f, so a force push. And I hope already by the name you realize that this is a dangerous operation. You should never ever do this on a public branch. So main or develop branch or stable or whatever you call those, where many people work on it, never do a rebase. This really will make many people angry. Only do that on branches you're the only person working on, or where you know that your team is aware of you doing this kind of operation. Right, so it helps if you have tools that support this kind of workflow, and there are those tools out there. Perfect, so what we learned is we can rewrite history with amends to change the latest commit. We know how to rebase now and do this interactively, and we know that we have to force push, and that's something dangerous. And finally, fix-up commits are the middle way, and you can squash them automatically using Git. Great. We're through. We've done it. You now know how to craft commits. We talked about making them small, make them concise, and we know how to change history to incorporate feedback. And the good thing is you didn't have to write all this down. If you want, we have a cheat sheet up there. Also, if you like this talk and you think it was a bit too short, I'd love to work with you or answer your questions, not only here right now, but also on LinkedIn. And of course, we also offer workshops if you're interested in that. More information also on our webpage. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being so many. I'm amazed. It was great talking to you.
So that was very informative, and we have some questions from the audience. Do you know a way or a tool to prioritize review comments and sort them accordingly? Some comments may be of major and some of minor priority. For example, Bitbucket does not allow any prioritization.
All right. I'm not aware of a tool that actually prioritizes review comments. I know that I know of tools where you can prioritize your approval, but I'm not sure. No, I don't know a tool for that. Sorry.
All right. By changing history, aren't you making the life of other people working on the same branch harder?
I am. So yeah, if you rebase, this is actually something that really makes working together hard. You should probably only do this, especially if you're starting out, only on branches that you're the only one working on, and where maybe a reviewer is taking a look at it. Yeah.
All right. And if you change the original Git history, wouldn't it be more difficult for the reviewer to see the changes?
It really depends on what you're interested in and what tool you're using. So for example, GitHub will then update the chat history to look like it has always been this kind of Git history. So it might become difficult to understand how those changes that have been applied at the rebase now influence the before. There are other tools. I think GitLab supports that. Mergeboard, of course, supports it, that allow you to also compare between revisions. So every time you push something new, you can see what were the changes that were introduced by pushing. Yeah.
What is your opinion on commit messages versus longer commit descriptions and incorporate user story or work items numbers into messages?
Oh, that's a deep philosophical topic, I think. So I think what is really important is to really explain why you did something. Not necessarily the what in detail, because I mean that's what the code should tell you. But if you start with a small summary, 80 characters, that's a good start, and then add all the necessary details you think the reviewer should be aware of, your motivation, etc., in the body of the commit message.
You have super clean history, but still 70 commits. What tool do you use for actual code review?
So I mean, we at our company, we're using Mergeboard, the tool we are developing. this offers you a way, like a drop down to step through commits, or you can just say next commit, next commit, next commit, which is helpful. But most other tools support this as well. So GitHub should support this if I remember correctly. GitLab supports it, and I'm not sure if Bitbucket does, but I'm pretty sure this kind of stuff is supported. Still, 70 commits is huge. Probably you should think about splitting this into several smaller merge requests to make it easier for the reviewer.
All right. Thank you so much, Johannes, for your insights. And yeah, thank you. Give it up for Johannes Hawks.
Thank you, guys. That's great.
Now we're going to take a short break and we'll prepare for the next speaker. And we will see you in 15 minutes.